In my previous life, a month before my engagement to my first love, our mutual first love cornered him at his doorstep. She cried and said that she had actually liked him for all these years and hoped he could give her a chance. My first love didn't agree. Later, we got married smoothly. But she never gave up. Until my first love became like the leftover rice grains. And the mosquito blood that couldn't be wiped clean in the past turned into the cinnabar mole in the man's heart. She came excitedly, pregnant, to declare her sovereignty. During the scuffle, she pushed me down the stairs. And I was bleeding profusely from the head. In a trance, I saw my first love and his mother rushing over, supporting her and carefully asking if she had been agitated and might affect the fetus. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my high school days, looking at the man and woman in front of me. This time, everything will be different. When I opened my eyes, I was in the classroom. I was wearing the high school summer uniform. The faint chirping of cicadas in my ears was mixed with the cheering sounds outside the window. My head was groggy. I sat up straight and looked at everything in front of me in a daze. The last thing I remembered was that I took the drafted divorce agreement from the law firm, went home, and met Gigi, who was standing at the door with a pregnant belly waiting for me. Just like a peacock that had finally won the battle. She raised her head and showed off to me, "I'm pregnant. Sean said he will divorce you." I was silent and reached past her to take out the key to open the door. Perhaps my indifferent attitude couldn't add to her victory. So she suddenly became emotional and clung to me tightly, refusing to let go. During the entanglement, she suddenly exerted force. I couldn't stand steady in my high heels and fell down the stairs. My head hit the ground. The warm blood and intense pain became my last perception, accompanied by hurried footsteps. A bottle of water was placed on my desk. "I heard you had heat stroke? You only attended half of the PE class. What happened?" I looked up and saw a familiar face with a hint of anxiety. It was Sean. Sean, who was many years younger. My first love. My husband. The father of Gigi's child. Sean. I stared at him blankly. But what came to my mind was that after I fell down the stairs, when he rushed over, he chose to pick up Gigi first. He soothed the crying her and told her not to be afraid, that the baby would be fine. "Yvonne?" Not getting a response, Sean waved his hand in front of me. "Could you have a fever?" I suddenly felt a bit ridiculous. Even in such a situation, I could still have such a dream. Was it that in my subconscious, I was so pathetic as to want his concern? I sneered. Sean was taken aback. But this moment, another familiar exaggerated female voice came from the door of the classroom. "Are you okay, Yvonne?" Gigi rushed in, looking full of worry. "I heard you almost fainted from heatstroke." It scared me to death. But while she said she was worried about me, her body moved toward Sean's side, and she gently rubbed against his sleeve. "I really didn't notice it before," I murmured. "What?" Both of them were taken aback at the same time. What a fool I was. I shook my head and smiled. I regarded Gigi as my close friend. Shared my secrets with Sean with her. Pulled her into the study group that Sean and I had. Helped her with her studies. And helped her improve from being at the bottom of the class ranking to being among the top 100 students. Even after Sean and I started dating. Because she always said she missed us. We often took her out when we went on outings. She even called herself the Steven, who was like a third wheel. I introduced boyfriends to her, all of whom were excellent boys. But she always said they were not suitable. Why didn't I notice it earlier? In fact, she had liked Sean even before she became friends with me. On the eve of my engagement to Sean, she stood in the rain and cornered him at his doorstep, crying and begging for a fair chance to compete. She kept saying that she didn't want to ruin our friendship, but also said that she loved him too much and couldn't control herself. At that time, Sean didn't accept her. He firmly engaged and married me. But 5 years after marriage, Gigi always remained the third person in our marriage. After tearing apart that layer of pretense, she simply didn't care anymore. She went to the place where Sean worked to block the door, made lunch for him, bought clothes for him, and showed her concern. She said she would prove with her actions that she loved Sean more than I did. Sean hated her pestering. He blocked her, refused to see her, and returned or threw away everything she sent. Half a year later, Gigi came to me crying, knelt down and begged for my forgiveness, saying that she had been possessed by some devil before and would never pester Sean again. She wanted to be friends with us again. Naturally, I wasn't so kind-hearted as to be friends again with someone who tried to destroy my marriage, and Sean said he wouldn't either. But with the dual pressures of the trivial married life and the matter of having children, at every moment when there were tiny cracks in our married life, Gigi was still like a pervasive virus, seeping into and affecting our lives. Sean started to mention her more and more often, and even began to miss her. He would talk about Gigi's thoughtfulness during quarrels, and also mention the cooking skills that Gigi had practiced for him when the food didn't suit his taste. Finally, having fulfilled wide sigh, those small cracks that could have been filled originally became bigger and bigger because of the existence of the third person. When we had cold wars and quarrels, he started to stay out all night. I couldn't stand a betrayal in the marriage and proposed a divorce. But he cried and apologized to me, unwilling to agree. He said he loved me, but I knew that he couldn't let go of Gigi anymore. He indulged in her obedience, compromise, tenderness, and constant flattering. So I went to a lawyer alone and drafted a divorce agreement. I wanted to get rid of this entangled and painful relationship. I made all the plans for after the divorce and was ready to go to another city to start a new life. But in the end, I was still pushed down by Gigi. I was forced to witness that disgusting scene. The class bell rang soon. In the afternoon, I looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar blackboard writing on the blackboard and the teachers who came and went on the podium. Finally, I realized one thing. This wasn't a dream. I was reborn. Perhaps God took pity on me for not being able to recognize people clearly in my previous life and let me be reborn in the second year of high school when my friendship with Gigi just began. Gigi was a transfer student. She didn't get into our high school in the high school entrance examination. After staying in a third-rate high school for a year, her family spent money to transfer her to our school. Her grades were not good. Every time she ranked at the bottom of the class in the exams. She would always hide in the toilet and cry. High school was like a small society. Girls with poor academic performance were actually quite vulnerable to being bullied. Soon, let out a low sigh. Some people started to make fun of her. When she went to the toilet to cry, they would deliberately lock the toilet door, pour water on her head, and laughingly scold her as the crying stupid Gigi girl. It was me who saved her. I chased away those girls who bullied her and gave her my spare clothes. She cried and thanked me. Seeing her pitiful situation and fearing that she would be bullied again, I took the initiative to be friends with her. I was the president of the student union and had some prestige both in the class and in the school. My care for her made other classmates treat her better to some extent, and because of me, Sean also often took good care of her. When I was a child, my kind parents always told me that when you give someone a rose, your hand will remain fragrant. I always remembered this sentence. From childhood to adulthood, I always tried my best to help everyone. Later, Gigi timidly said that she wanted to improve her academic performance. So I pulled her into the study group that Sean and I had, helped her improve her grades, and she was admitted to a 211 university in our local area. But Sean didn't perform well on the college entrance examination. Because I was so in love with him and wanted to be with him, I gave up my dream school and applied to a 985 university in our local area. In our senior year at university, there was an opportunity to go abroad for postgraduate study and exchange. For Sean, I stayed again. Now that I think about it, I was like a fool when I made those decisions. Fortunately, having fulfilled this time, everything has just started, and there is still time for everything. After a while, the bell rang for the end of the class. Sean and Gigi came towards me at the same time. Gigi said excitedly, "Are we going to review English together in our study group today?" I stood up and picked up my school bag. "I'm going home first." "Why do you suddenly want to go home? There are still 2 evening self-study classes." Gigi widened her eyes. "Are you still not feeling well after the heat stroke this afternoon?" Sean reached out his hand. "Don't tell me you really have a fever." I tilted my head and avoided his hand. He was taken aback. And his hand hung in the air. I'm a bit tired and I've asked the teacher for leave. Then let me send you back. Sean said. Wait for me. I'll go and tell the teacher. No need. I picked up my school bag. Didn't wait for him. And turned around and left the classroom. When I reached the downstairs of the apartment building in the community, I happened to meet Mrs. Shen, who came downstairs to take out the trash. When Mrs. Shen saw me, she immediately beamed with joy. Oh, Yvonne. Why are you back so early today? By the way, come to my place later to have some shortbread cookies. They are just made and still warm. I looked at this woman in front of me. Once, I thought I had met the best mother-in-law in the world. But after marriage, because Sean and I didn't have children for a long time, I didn't know how many cold looks I got from her. Even later, it was she who always urged Sean to give it a try with someone else. She has a problem. She can't delay you. When I was bleeding from the head, she and Sean rushed over together. She didn't even spare a glance at me. Her heart and eyes were only filled with the baby in Gigi's belly. Thank you, Auntie. I passed by her. But I don't like shortbread cookies. Under Mrs. Shen's surprised gaze, I closed the door of my home. I looked at the books on the second layer of the bookcase, and then at myself in the mirror, who was 17 years old. I suddenly felt that perhaps in this new life, what I could change was not just love and marriage. Could it be that the regret that was once deeply buried in my heart could also be given a try? Just then, what on a low sigh, my mother came back from work. Sean was following behind her. I just met Sean downstairs. He said you had heat stroke at school today and left early? Why didn't you call me? My mother came over worriedly and touched my forehead. How do you feel now? I'm fine. I smiled. I was just a bit hot. Don't worry. My mom made some mung bean soup for Yvonne. Sean placed the pot on the table. It's good for clearing heat. Drink it after it cools down. And there are also the shortbread cookies she just made. Really? My mother smiled. You've troubled your mom again. It's no trouble. Auntie, what out a low sigh? Sean smiled widely. And then peeked at me. If you're feeling better, let's do our homework together tonight. In my previous life, until our senior year of high school, because we lived across the door from each other, Sean and I oft and did our homework together and discussed exercises. But in this life, I don't want to anymore. I don't want to have a relationship with him that goes beyond that of ordinary classmates. I don't want to be close to his mother anymore. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes and the tragic ending of my previous life. Sean, I said softly, I've been a bit tired recently. So I want to study alone for a while. I want to withdraw from the study group and the study sessions that we have together at night first. Just like that, I quit Sean and Gigi's study group. During the evening self-study sessions in the following few days, I studied and did exercises on my own. Sean would habitually come to find me during breaks. But I usually went to the restroom or fetched water with my deskmate before he arrived. When Gigi came to ask me questions, I usually made up an excuse saying I was busy. Finally, having fulfilled one sigh, Sean cornered me at my doorstep on the weekend. What on earth did Gigi and I do to offend you? He said unhappily. Why have you suddenly stopped talking to us? You're overthinking it. The final exams are coming up soon. And I just want to review on my own. I said. Am I overthinking it? He raised his voice. Everyone in the class can see that you've been ignoring me recently. Do you think I'm blind or deaf? I was silent for a moment. Sean. Do you like me? Huh? He was taken aback. I don't like you. I said. What? I said that although we grew up together and had been together for the past 17 years, I don't have feelings for you beyond those of an ordinary friend. I just want to focus on my studies by myself now. What are you talking about? He seemed to have heard a funny joke. Who said I like you? I just regard you as a friend who grew up with me. That's for the best, I said softly. Don't flatter yourself, he said with an ugly expression. I was just showing concern for you as a friend. But you took my kindness for granted and even accused me of liking you. Hert. You want to study on your own, right? That's fine. From now on, We'll all study by ourselves. Okay. I nodded. I watched his back as he left in a huff. I'm sorry. 17-year-old Sean. I know that at 17. You haven't done anything yet. And you're not the two-timing scumbag you will become. It may be a bit unfair to you to be left out like this unilaterally. But with the memories of my past life, I can no longer accept you. Moreover, since I've already foreseen the dismal future between us, why not nip it in the bud? Forgetting each other in the vast world is the best ending for us. Since that day, Sean has never come to find me again. Seeing that I was ignoring her, Gigi went to Sean. And he, as if being stubborn, loudly said to Gigi, "It's okay. The two of us can form a study group, and we can still improve our grades. It's not like we can't live without each other. Indeed, that's the way it is. In this world, no one is indispensable to anyone else." But a few days later, our head teacher, Mr. Zhang, suddenly called me to his office. "Yvonne, have you been a bit reluctant to help your classmates recently?" I frowned. "Mr. Zhang, what do you mean? I heard that you quit the study group in our class?" I nodded. "Yes. I want to study on my own." Mr. Zhang adjusted his glasses. "Let me tell you, you're still too young. You should know that for students, having good academic performance is one thing, but having good moral character is also very important. Selfish behavior is not advisable." "Teacher." I was puzzled. "I think the study group model doesn't suit me very well. I want to study hard. Why is that considered selfish?" He sighed and changed the subject. "Yvonne, I originally planned to nominate you for the Municipal Excellence Student this year. You know what an excellent student is, right? One must not only have good academic performance, but also good moral character." Mr. Zhang went out a low sigh. I interrupted him. "First of all, last year, I was elected as the Municipal Excellence Student or class voting first and then school-wide voting. It was fair, just, and open. I don't mind using the same method this year. Second, I just quit the study group with Sean and Gigi. Many of my classmates, such as my desk mate, the students sitting in front of and behind me, come to ask me questions. And I'm always eager to help them. I don't think there's anything wrong with my ideology and morality. If I were still 17, I might really think I hadn't done well enough after being PUAD by a few words from the head teacher. But deep down, I'm a 27-year-old who has experienced the ups and downs of society. This kind of preaching is too childish for me." Unable to argue with me, Mr. Zhang had to let me go back to the classroom first. But during the class meeting in the afternoon, he suddenly said that he was going to change everyone's seats. The study groups in our class before have achieved good results. In this monthly exam, many students' grades have improved. He stood on the podium. The final exams are coming soon. To improve the overall grades of our class, we'll implement a new one-on-one desk-mate mutual assistance system. This year, the selection of the Municipal Excellence Student will mainly focus on moral education evaluation. How much your desk-mate's score improves will be an important criterion for judgment. He read out the names and rearranged the seats. And Gigi was arranged to be my desk mate. "Yvonne." Gigi held her school bag and seemed to be thinking of me. "Don't worry. To help you become the Municipal Excellence Student again, I'll try my best to improve my academic performance." I suddenly felt a bit ridiculous. Our head teacher, who was gesturing wildly on the stage, had a new watch on his wrist that was very obvious. Gigi's family seems to be in the business of selling luxury watches. I suddenly understood. In my past life, the head teacher didn't intervene because I had been taking the initiative to help Gigi. Under my tutoring, her grades improved rapidly, and she even ranked among the top 100 in the grade by the third year of high school. She had a weak foundation, and I'm afraid that except for me in my past life who had such great patience, other classmates were too lazy to spend their precious time helping her. Even Sean. When the three of us studied together, he mostly discussed questions with me and rarely helped Gigi. When I first quit the study group, although Gigi tried her best to hide it, it was obvious that she was excited inside. But not long after, she should have realized that Sean didn't have much patience with her. And I the most suitable and convenient helper, suddenly refused to help, although she didn't know the reason. She was in a hurry. She came to this school and entered this class by pulling strings with money. It's too easy for her to get Mr. Zhang on her side by giving him a luxury watch. They want to use the title of Municipal Excellence Student to restrict me and make me continue to be a free tutoring assistant. Their plan is really too good. After class, I went to the office to find Mr. Zhang. I don't want to be desk mates with Gigi. Please help me change my seat. Teacher. Mr. Zhang got angry as soon as he heard me. Yvonne. What's wrong with you as a student? Huh? Didn't you just promise me that you were willing to help your desk mate? Why do you want to change your seat now? You don't cooperate with the study group. And you want to change your seat too. Look at yourself. Who in the class is as special as you? Teacher. Do you love everyone in the world? Huh? He was stunned. People always have those they like and those they dislike. I can help my desk mate. But I don't like Gigi. So I don't want to help her. Why do you pick and choose when it comes to helping others? This seat arrangement is based on everyone's scores and is related to the selection of the Municipal Excellence student. If you want to change it, is it fair to others? Why do you only think about yourself? I sneered. Municipal Excellence student. Municipal Excellence student. Then I'll withdraw from the selection of the Municipal Excellence student. What? I said I'll withdraw from the selection of the Municipal Excellence student. You don't need to choose a new desk mate for me either. I'll sit alone. Eccentric. Selfish. He was shaking with anger. I'm doing this for your own good. If you don't make up for your moral shortcomings now, you'll suffer a great deal in society in the future. I'm teaching you how to be a person. Thank you for your kindness. Teacher, Helen fulfilled land Sasher. But I know how to be a person. The first thing about being a person is not to compromise yourself for the opinions of others. You're just making excuses for your selfishness. As the president of the student union, shouldn't you set an example? Shouldn't you have a sense of collectivism? If Gigi's scores can improve, our class can be rated as an excellent class collective this year. This is the honor of our class. Do you deserve the votes of your classmates in the class? Teacher. I smiled. Compulsory education only goes up to the third year of junior high school, right? I paid tuition fees for senior high school. I'm here to study, not to work. Whether the grades of the poor students in the class can be improved, and whether this class can be rated as an excellent class collective is not my responsibility. But yours. Naturally. The teachers in the student affairs office will judge whether I'm qualified for the job of the president of the student union. If you want me to share your work in the class, you'd better contact my parents first and talk to them about how much money they should pay me. If the salary is right, I don't mind either. Putting interests first at such a young age. He pointed at me. Don't think you're amazing just because you study well now. Let me tell you, girls often run out of steam in the third year of senior high school. And many of their grades will drop. Teacher. What you said is not right. A strange voice sounded at the door. I turned around. And a boy holding a basketball lazily leaned against the door frame. He twirled the basketball in his hand. Among the top students in our school in the past 5 years, girls have been the top scorers in 3 years. As a teacher, it's inappropriate for you to say something without evidence. Isn't it? Shane, has that on? You're from the liberal arts class. What does our science class's business have to do with you? Mr. Zhang was furious. So he was Shane, the top student in the liberal arts class and the person who was most likely to become the top scorer in the city according to the legend. Didn't Mr. Zhang just say that for students? Ideological and moral character is very important. Shane shrugged and walked in. I was so impressed by the teacher's teachings that when I saw this female classmate being bullied, I just spoke up to help out of a sense of justice. Mr. Zhang was so stunned that he couldn't speak, and his face turned as red as a liver colored. Shane was known for his sharp tongue and his resistance to discipline. Even the head teacher of the liberal arts class didn't control him much. So naturally, Mr. Zhang couldn't do anything to him. So, he suddenly covered his chest and pointed at me again. I've been working so hard for you every day. And you just want to anger to death me. Don't you? Don't worry. Mr. Zhang. I won't be able to anger you for much longer. I said calmly. I've already decided to transfer to the liberal arts class in the third year of senior high school. As soon as I said this, both Mr. Zhang and Shane were stunned. Mr. Zhang sneered. Who are you trying to be stubborn with? I've never seen anyone transfer between liberal arts and science in the third year of senior high school. Shane also looked at me. I'm not kidding. I looked at Mr. Zhang. In a few days, I'll ask my parents to come and sign the papers. You really think you're a genius? Being able to study liberal arts or science as you like. I ignored him and turned to walk out of the office. After I went out, I could still hear Mr. Zhang's sarcastic voice. If she really transfers to the liberal arts class, I'll write my surname Zhang upside down. When I got back to the classroom, I moved my desk and chair to the last row of the classroom. Gigi watched me move my things. Then turned to look at Sean. Her eyes were wet and red. It was as if I had bullied her. Most of the classmates in the class just watched the scene in silence. But only Sean came over. What are you doing? He frowned. Can't you see? I'm moving my seat. Has the teacher agreed? I've informed him. He watched me packing and took a deep breath. Come out with me for a moment. I followed him to the corridor. Don't take your anger out on Gigi just because you had a quarrel with me. It's really unseemly. I laughed. Take my anger out on her? Aren't you deliberately embarrassing her because I've been getting close to Gigi recently? But Yvonne, you were the one who said you wanted to be just ordinary classmates with me first. We are just ordinary classmates. I just want to study quietly by myself. Sean, I have no feelings towards you. I just find Gigi noisy and don't want to waste my time helping her. That's all. After saying that, I wanted to go back to the classroom, but Sean suddenly grabbed me. What's wrong with you? Why have you become so selfish? Let go. I frowned. All right. All right. I surrender. Can you stop making a fuss? What? He bit his lip. I'll be honest. I got close to her and went to and from school with her just to make you angry. But you can't act like this just because you're angry. After that, he mumbled softly, you really should learn from Gigi in terms of personality. Look how gentle she is. She always thinks of others. Only I will spoil your bad temper. I looked at the person in front of me quietly. Sure enough. Whether in the previous life or this life, whether at the age of 17 or 27, Sean was still the same Sean. Gigi's gentleness, compliance, and flattery always worked on him. No matter when. And I lived in his self-righteous love and constant comparisons. I was like a spinning top that couldn't stop, as long as I didn't spin well, fast, or to his satisfaction. He would instinctively compare me with Gigi and point at her, saying, look, how beautifully she spins. I even bestowed my love on you. Yet you're so nitpicky and ungrateful. But in fact, I never wanted such love. Sean, I said softly, I've always thought that at the very beginning of this relationship, it was because I took the initiative to help Gigi. So I do feel somewhat responsible for you. What? He didn't understand. I shook my head. I'll give you a piece of advice. In this senior year of high school, focus on your own studies. Do more mock exercises. And reduce your nervousness. You can get into a good university. After saying that, I turned around and went back to the classroom. This was all I could help him with. It's up to him to make his own choices in the future. When I got home, Mrs. Shen was sitting on the sofa. And my mother was answering a phone call. Okay. I'm sorry. Teacher Zhang. The child has caused you trouble. I know. This matter is indeed. I guess the child was just impulsive. Please don't be in a hurry to report it to the school. Okay. After putting down the phone, my mother had a complicated expression. Your head teacher said that you want to transfer to the liberal arts class? I nodded. What? Transfer to the liberal arts class? Mrs. Shen immediately said. Listen to me. Auntie. You can't transfer. You're going to be a senior soon. Teacher Zhang said that you talked back to the teacher today, and also said that you want to sit alone. Have you encountered anything recently? My mother asked. I shook my head. Mom, I want to study liberal arts and apply for the journalism department of Jing University. Jing University? Mrs. Shen immediately said again. Oh, Jing University is not easy to get into. Yvonne. Auntie is telling you that girls shouldn't go into journalism. It's not safe and doesn't make much money. Girls should study something like accounting, so it will be easier to find a stable job in the future. I was just telling your mother that the accounting majors in those local 985 universities are all quite good. Moreover, Jing University is so far away from home. It's better for girls to stay close to home. In the future, you and Sean can both study at local universities and come home on weekends. In my previous life, Mrs. Shen was like this. She kept saying in front of my parents and me how good it was to stay local. Because her legs were not in good condition and she didn't like going out. Sean had told me a long time ago that his mother wanted him to attend a local university. And as the so-called, well-known future daughter-in-law in her eyes, of course, it was the most secure for me to study at a local university too. You're the only girl in your family. It's better to stay close to your parents. You and Sean grew up together. There's no man in the world who will treat you better than him. Get married early after graduation. Yvonne. Girls don't need to have too strong a career ambition. Stability is the most important thing. You always have to take care of your family. Girls should have children early. Which is also good for your recovery. It was precisely under the brainwashing of these words, and I found an ordinary and stable job after graduation. Married Sean. And even doubted myself because I couldn't get pregnant for a long time. And because I couldn't get pregnant for 5 years. Mrs. Shen's attitude towards me gradually turned bad. Once, I accidentally heard her talking to Sean outside the door. Son. Even though you're married, you can't stick to just one woman. We should have had a premarital medical examination before getting married. Who knew she couldn't give birth? Mom. It may not necessarily be Yvonne's problem. It could also be my problem. How could it be your problem? She raised her voice. I'm telling you. Yvonne was just spoiled by you since she was a child. You gave her everything she wanted. Now I think Gigi is really nice. She always comes to give me things. And her personality is much better than Yvonne's. What era is it now? It's not like you can't get a divorce. You and Yvonne quarrel all the time now. You can give it a try with Gigi. If she gets pregnant, just dump Yvonne and be with Gigi. The past memories welled up in my mind. On Mrs. Shen's side, she was still talking non-stop to impose her values on my mother. In this world, most people are ordinary. You can tame to high. For girls, stability is what they should strive for. Find a good and reliable husband's family that you know well. Get married and have children early after graduation. As the old saying goes, it's better to marry well than to study well. Auntie. I interrupted her. It's true that most people in this world are ordinary. But ordinary people also have dreams. Dreams are not being overly ambitious. And a girl's value is never just about getting married and having children. If you read some books, you might realize how important a position women have occupied in promoting historical progress. Not everyone can promote history. You kids are just poised and by those decadent foreign ideas on the internet. You always think you're so great. She turned to look at my mother again. Yvonne's mom. I told you before that you should pay attention to the child's ideological changes. Once she's brainwashed, it's really scary. I sneered. Auntie. Is it the internet that's brainwashing me? Or is it you who's brainwashing our whole family? You child. What are you talking about? Her face suddenly changed. You come to my home when you have nothing to do and tell my mother that girls shouldn't marry far away. That girls shouldn't have a strong career ambition. And that girls should get married early. I just don't understand. Do you really want to control me so much? You at all. You ungrateful child. I've watched you grow up since you were a child. Isn't this out of concern for you? I'm also very busy. If you were a stranger on the street, why would I bother to care about you? Since you're so busy, then please focus on your own business and don't come to my home for no reason anymore. I said coldly. Mrs. Shen opened her mouth wide and stared at me in a daze, unable to say a word for a moment. Fine, what out a lull sigh. Fine, hadn't so felt my sorry. I'll go. I'll never come to your home again. With that, she got up. But her movements were slow, obviously waiting for my mother to stop her. But I took a step ahead and grabbed my mother's hand. Thank you, Auntie. Indeed. I'm going to be a senior soon. And I also want a quiet study environment. Mrs. Shen's face turned a mix of green and white. Before leaving, she stopped again and turned to my mother angrily, saying, Yvonne's mom, you really should discipline your child. After Mrs. Shen left, my mother sighed. Why are you so angry today? In fact, my parents have always been very open-minded and kind people. But kind people can sometimes be soft-hearted and easily taken advantage of. I pulled my mother into the room and pointed at a row of journalism books in the bookcase. Mom, you know that I've been interested in journalism for a long time. The college entrance examination may not be the only opportunity to change the trajectory of my life, but it's a very important choice. In the past, I just followed the crowd, because everyone said that when applying for majors, there were more options for science students, and that science majors had a better future. But personally, I actually prefer liberal arts. Mom, I made this decision after careful consideration and practical judgment. Although the classes in the second year of high school mainly focus on science, because I'm interested in liberal arts, and I also need to take the general academic proficiency test, I haven't actually fallen behind in the general framework of the content. I'm confident that I can make up for the liberal arts content during the summer vacation of the second year of high school. I really want to transfer to the liberal arts class and strive for my dream, for Jing University. This decision may be a bit risky, but I'm willing to do my best to give it a try. My mother looked at me silently. After a while, she patted my shoulder. Well, I'll discuss it with your father when he comes back tonight. I hugged her tightly. Thank you, Mom. In the evening, I had a long talk with my parents. The next day, my mother took me to Teacher Zhang's place to sign the papers. Nowadays, students are being naughty, and parents are following suit. It's quite funny, he said in a sarcastic tone as he watched my mother sign. Teacher Zhang, ketting falsilwad session. My mother smiled. As parents, we think we should support our child's decision and believe in her, instead of pouring cold water on her. Walking out of the office, I felt very happy and relaxed. Maybe I won't necessarily succeed in the end, but I have parents who support me and have made the choice I wanted. On the first day of the senior year of high school, I met Shane at the door of Liberal Arts Class 1. I didn't expect you to really come. He raised his eyebrows. Welcome. And Sean was very angry when he learned that I had transferred to the Liberal Arts class. Why didn't you discuss it with me? I was silent for a moment. Sean, this is my personal decision. I don't need to discuss it with anyone except my parents. Fine. Fine. He sneered. Then we're breaking off our friendship from now on. As soon as the new semester started, there was a diagnostic test, perhaps to make everyone feel nervous. The questions in this test were a bit difficult. A week later, the results were announced, and I ranked 11th in the liberal arts class. The entire senior year teaching office was in an uproar. When my homeroom teacher, Ms. N, called me to the office, I happened to hear Mr. Zhang shouting inside. She just transferred here. It's impossible for her to get such a high score in liberal arts. This girl has extremely high self-esteem. She must have cheated for the sake of face. We must conduct a thorough investigation. I knocked on the door, and the voices inside stopped abruptly. When Ms. Zin saw me, she immediately smiled and beckoned me over. Yvonne, you got a very good score in this diagnostic test. The teacher just wants to ask you, how did you improve your liberal arts grades in such a short time? Mr. Zhang sneered beside her. I was silent for a moment and then said seriously, Ms. Zin, Menzet, is there a teacher who suspects that I cheated? Ms. Zin said, well, to be honest, You just transferred from the science class and directly ranked 11th in the grade. To be honest, the teachers are quite curious. I smiled. Ms. Zinn, Madavalal Sai. Do you know how I spent the summer vacation of my sophomore year in high school? For the entire summer vacation, I locked myself at home with no entertainment activities at all. I bought liberal arts review materials and real exam questions from previous college entrance exams. I went through each knowledge point one by one and tackled each question. I studied from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. every day. I can understand that the teachers are curious. But I can't accept being suspected of cheating without any evidence. Is it without evidence? There must be something wrong when things seem abnormal. What evidence do you have to prove that you didn't cheat? Mr. Zhang immediately said. There were invigilators in the examination room and surveillance cameras. Mr. Zhang, why don't you ask the invigilators or even check the surveillance footage? Instead, you are questioning me on the premise of subjectively assuming that I cheated? Look, Ms. Zinn, look, she's so unruly. Mr. Zhang said excitedly. She's just getting carried away because she's a student leader and is so self-righteous. You must call her parents. Unexpectedly, Ms. Zinn ignored him. Yvonne, the teacher believes in you. Keep working hard. Mr. Zhang's eyes widened. Ms. Zinn, you're still young and don't know that this student is always full of tricks. You can't encourage students to give up their integrity just for the grades of Class 1 of liberal arts and for your own promotion to a senior teacher. Mr. Zhang, when it comes to integrity, Shane hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Who was helping Ms. Zinn organize materials beside them? Suddenly looked up. Did you forget something? What? Mr. Zhang was surprised. Shane opened his innocent and bright big eyes. That day in the office. You said that if Yvonne transferred to the liberal arts class, you would write your surname Zhang upside down. Have you written your name upside down recently? The other teachers in the office were holding back their laughter. And one of them couldn't help laughing out loud. Mr. Zhang. Ms. Zinn also smiled. You'd better mind your own business when it comes to our liberal arts class. A minute later, Shane and I left the office one after the other. Yvonne. I turned around. You seem to be quite interesting, he said, with his hands in his pockets. Actually, I've always thought the school was quite boring, and there were no real opponents. But to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to it now. Looking forward to what? I was puzzled. He smiled. Looking forward to the day when we meet at the top. In the days that followed, all I did every day was study and study. News from the science class sometimes reached my ears. For example, Gigi was vigorously pursuing Sean. Perhaps my departure was the reason why she took action earlier than in the previous life. But this life is different from the previous one. In the previous life, with me as a contrast, Gigi became Sean's warm haven to escape from the pressure of marriage. In this life, I have already transferred to the liberal arts class. Gigi's enthusiastic pursuit as a poor student will only make Sean feel ashamed. He has no time and no patience to help her improve her grades. And love and the warmth of the opposite sex are not necessities in the high-pressure senior year of high school. Gigi has once again become the laughingstock of the whole grade, but I didn't expect that she would take out her anger at Sean's indifference towards her on me. In the past 2 weeks, several girls sitting on my left have always been chatting and talking loudly when I'm studying. They are the same girls who once bullied Gigi. And now, hello Sai. It seems that the target of their bullying has become me. I saw once after school that Gigi was walking with them in a mysterious way. Now, each of them is wearing an exquisite ladies' watch on their wrist, and during a break between classes, these girls, I don't know if they were instructed, actually blocked me in a toilet cubicle and poured a basin of cold water on me, making me wet from head to toe. Not that there's no retribution. It's just that the time hasn't come yet, one of the girls said with a giggle. I stood silently in the toilet cubicle. After the door was opened from the outside, I borrowed a towel and went to the hygiene teacher to dry my clothes. And I walked back to the sink in the toilet, picked up the bucket beside it, and filled it with a bucket of water. When I carried the bucket into the classroom, Those girls were chatting and laughing happily. I walked over, lifted the bucket, and poured a bucket of water on them. Ah! They screamed. Is that all you've got? I smiled. I'm really sorry. I've always believed in returning a favor many times over. You're crazy. They shouted. We're going to tell the teacher. I'm the one who should tell the teacher. I sneered. What time is it now? And you're still playing this boring bullying game. If you have the guts, don't sit here. One of the girls shouted. I just want to disrupt you. I just can't stand you. You're not the president of the student union this semester anymore. Don't talk to me in that official tone. We're not afraid of you. It's spread all over the grade that you're a shameless cheating freak. Who do you think you are? Stop making so much noise. A voice suddenly came from the back of the classroom. The whole class fell silent. Shane lazily sat up and walked over to ask. You don't want her to sit here? One girl wiped the water from her forehead and replied. Yes, heading fulfill and sorry. She bullied us. And Shane. You know she's a cheating freak, right? We don't want to sit with someone of bad character. After saying this, several of them had expressions of watching a good show. Oh. Shane nodded. Turned to ask me. Actually, I also think the study environment here for you isn't very good. After all, birds of a feather flock together. There's no need for you to prove that you can stay unsullied in such an important moment of senior year. Do you want to consider being my desk mate? What? I was stunned. And the other girls were also stunned. After all, on the first day I came to this class, I heard about it. Shane is a good student. Handsome. And has a sharp tongue. Before, some girls also tried to be his desk mate and get close to him by asking questions. But most of the time, they were made to cry by his sharp words. Over time, no one dared to get close to him. And his desk mate position has always been vacant. This is probably the first time that a top student has taken the initiative to invite someone to be his desk mate. Anyone who doesn't go is a fool. Sure. I nodded. Let's go. He helped me pick up my school bag. Just like that. The two of us, under the gaze of the whole class, moved my seat next to his. Of course, given the personalities of Gigi and those girls, they probably won't let it go so easily. To avoid any unexpected problems at this crucial moment, just as I was hesitating whether to ask my dad to pick me up after the evening self-study in the future, Shane suddenly said, when I helped Ms. Zin organize materials last time, I saw that your home is on Fink Street. No, 15. Right? I nodded. My home is just one street behind yours. The evening self-study will start at 9 p.m. next week. Do you want to walk with me for company? That would be perfect. Also, having fulfilled my ancestor. In your last monthly exam, you ranked 11th. Right? Yeah. Ranking 11th won't get you into Peking University. He threw over a notebook of wrong questions. I don't look at the questions in this notebook anymore. If you want, you can use it as a reference. At this moment, the bell rang for the end of the self-study class. He stood up, picked up his basketball, and walked outside. Shane. He turned around. I heard from others before that you're not usually the type to meddle in other people's business. Yeah, think so still why say. But you're not an outsider now. He said lazily. What? He raised a faint smile. Please give me more guidance in the future. Desk mate. The top student's notebook of wrong questions is more useful than any review materials. In the following month, I studied even harder, summarized problem-solving ideas and methods, and in the first monthly exam of senior year, I rushed to the 8th place in the grade. The rumor that I cheated in the diagnostic test was self-defeated, and my relationship with Shane gradually became more familiar. The results of this year's municipal evaluation came out, although Class 1 of Science didn't nominate me for the Excellent Student Award. The Teachers and the Student Affairs Office nominated me for the Excellent Student Leader Award, and I received the honor as expected. I heard that when the results were announced, Mr. Zhang smashed his Excellent Teacher Cup in the office. After the National Day holiday, the school held an autumn sports meeting. On my way to get water, I suddenly saw Mr. Zhang and Gigi standing sneakily with a man behind the teaching building. I thought for a moment. Then secretly slipped into an empty classroom on the first floor, crouched under the window, and pressed the recording button on my phone. Mr. Zhang, what out a low sigh. Gigi's current grades aren't good enough to get into a first-class university in China. Just as I mentioned to you last time. I wonder if you can make her usual grades a bit higher. That way, if we apply for a foreign university for her, it will look better. I understand. It's too difficult to replace the exam results during the college entrance examination now. But I can still help with her usual grades. Thank you so much. The teachers we found outside have all tried, but they're not very good. It would be best to arrange a few more good students to tutor her. If her college entrance examination grades can improve, that would be the best. Regarding the previous one. The previous Yvonne was too disobedient. Don't mention her. I've already driven her to the liberal arts class. I'll choose another candidate. That girl always makes my daughter unhappy. Don't worry. I'll find another opportunity to teach her a lesson and give her a disciplinary warning or something. It's not a difficult thing. Okay. Please accept this watch. How could I? It always costs President Gigi so much. It's nothing. After the footsteps outside the window faded away, my palms were sweating. I stood up and had just reached the door of the classroom when I heard a voice. Eavesdropping so blatantly. Aren't you afraid of being seen? All the hairs on my body stood up. I looked up and it was Shane. You scared me to death. What are you doing here? I widened my eyes. You're still asking me? He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If you want to be an undercover journalist, you should learn the basic skills first. You didn't even close the classroom door. And you just squatted by the wall so openly. Aren't you afraid that people passing by will see you? I opened my mouth. Then. Did anyone see me? You fool. Of course not. He folded his arms across his chest. I've been standing guard here all the time. 16 the next day. Before the whole school did the morning exercises, the broadcasting station suddenly played a strange recording. The main characters of the recording were Zhang Zhong, the head teacher of Class 1, Senior 3 Science, and Gigi's parents. Shane, let out a low sigh. The director of the broadcasting station said it was a live broadcast accident. I received a mysterious voice recorder. He shrugged. I wanted to listen to the content with everyone. But who knew the microphone wasn't turned off at that time? Teacher Zhang was suspended from his post and all his qualifications for evaluation and commendation were cancelled. And this recording, because some students recorded it and posted it online, became a hot topic within less than an hour. The all-powerful netizens all turned into Sherlock Holmes. Not only did the students that teacher Zhang had taught in the past accuse him of treating wealthy students differently back then, but they also dug up Gigi's family thoroughly. Isn't this the family that sells fake watches? I also bought a fake watch from their family. They said it was second-hand, but actually it was all fake. Someone reported Gigi's family company to the authorities. The public security organs intervened and found out that Gigi's family was not only making and selling fake goods, but also suspected of money laundering crimes. The school began to investigate whether Gigi had formed a bullying group at school. When they investigated those girls, they cried and said that Gigi had given them famous watches and asked them to bully me. Gigi became a rat crossing the street, a person or thing loathed by the people, an object of public hatred in the school, and dropped out of school not long after. The most pitiful one was teacher Zhang. The watch that he had been appreciating on his hand every day turned out to be fake in the end. 17 the afternoon of the day after Gigi dropped out of school, I met Sean at the entrance of the unit in the community. He said sorry to me. I didn't know she was so malicious all the time and always wanted to target you. I actually hated her very much later on. He wrung his hands helplessly. I'm sorry. Yvonne. Let's make up, okay? As he said this, in his hand, he was holding the strawberry milk that I used to love to drink the most. But when I looked at that bottle of milk, I suddenly thought of the previous life. I came back one day earlier from a business trip and saw the strawberry milk that should have been in the refrigerator placed on the table. There were still ambiguous lipstick marks on the mouth of the bottle. The bedroom and the bathroom were filled with an indescribable smell. It was obvious that the two people after their pleasure were in a hurry to go to work and didn't clean up in a hurry. After being reborn, I have never drunk strawberry milk again. A feeling of nausea welled up all of a sudden. I turned my head and couldn't help vomiting. Sean was so scared that he quickly came up to pat my back. But I stopped him. Sorry. I tried to calm myself down. I don't like this milk anymore. Then. Shall I change it to something else? He stammered. I shook my head. It couldn't be changed. And we couldn't go back either. Sean. I forced a smile. We'd better not meet each other recently. I wish you success in the college entrance examination in advance, and all the best. Is it because of Shane? He suddenly said. What? You've fallen in love with Shane. So you followed him to the liberal arts class. Now you sit together and go home from school together. Isn't that the case? He raised his voice. Sean. Shane and I are just classmates. I told you that I just want to study hard now. He sneered. First love can't compete with the one who appears suddenly. Right? He threw the strawberry milk aside. I really didn't expect you to be such a person. Many girls like Shane. He won't be a good choice. He had a dark face. Yvonne. If you don't choose me, you will regret it one day. 18 after that. Whenever Sean saw me, he was like a stranger. He seemed to be determined and devoted himself wholeheartedly to the intense study. His monthly exam results were getting better and better each time. Mother Shen couldn't help showing off intentionally or unintentionally in the community more than once. With these grades, he can basically choose any 985 university in the country. At the end of the first semester, my grade was steadily ranked second in the grade. The second semester also passed quickly. The first mock exam, the second mock exam, and the third mock exam. After May passed, it was the time for the college entrance examination in June. I felt that I had performed well. After the exam, I briefly compared the answers with Shane and basically had an estimate of my score. There shouldn't be any problem for both of us to get into Peking University. When the scores came out, it was indeed the case. Shane, as expected, got the first place in the whole city in the exam. And I got the 8th place in the whole city. Both of us received calls from several schools extending in Olive Branch. I applied for the journalism major at Peking University. And Shane applied for the history major at Peking University. I heard that Sean also did well in the exam and was admitted to the best 985 university in the local area, which was much better than the school he went to in the previous life. But it was said that he got sick right after the college entrance examination. And even the college application was handled entirely by Mother Shen. Coincidentally, headings of Sai. Sean's and my entrance banquet were arranged on the same day at the same restaurant. Sean and Mother Shen stood together at the entrance of the banquet hall opposite us. Mother Shen was beaming with joy. But Sean didn't even shave his beard and looked listless. Choosing a school is not as important as choosing a major. For Sean's major, I carefully selected it for him. Studying finance can make a lot of money in the future. Mother Shen said this and deliberately glanced at our side. Just like those two students from Peking University in their school this year. They study journalism and history. Don't look at the fact that their school is the best in the country. They won't be able to find a job in the future. My mother was about to go up and have a fight with her when I quickly held her back. What kind of person is she? I've been friends with her for so many years. Can other schools compare with Peking University? Don't be on the same level as her. I patted my mother on the back to soothe her. I'm telling you. With Sean's conditions, girls will line up to come to him in the future. I'm even worried now about how to choose a daughter-in-law. Mother Shen continued. When she got excited, she pulled Sean. Sean, didn't I ask you to bring the admission notice? Take it out and show it to your aunts. Sean shook his head, and his eyes suddenly met mine not far away. For some reason, his eyes were full of sadness. Why are you shaking your head? Mother Shen snatched Sean's bag. But she didn't hold it firmly. And the things in the bag fell out. An old lady enthusiastically helped pick up the things scattered on the ground. Is this the admission notice? What does it say? Azuspirashmi? This. Immediately. Several people crowded around. One of them covered her mouth in surprise. Oh, Oh. Sean. You can't have children? Then it will be difficult for you to find a partner in the future. What are you talking nonsense about? Mother Shen snatched the examination report. This, what on a low shy? This. She turned around in disbelief. Sean. What is this? When did you have this examination? It's a misunderstanding. The child made this fake by himself. She quickly said to everyone. It's not fake. Sean suddenly said. I am a zoosperm. I just can't have children. What are you talking nonsense about? Mother Shen was so angry that she slapped him on the back. Go in now. Sean smiled self-deprecating lie. In the midst of Mother Shen shouting, he walked out without looking back. 19 Suddenly, I realized something. Sean. I chased after him. He turned around, but his eyes were filled with tears and his voice was hoarse. Yvonne. You also remembered the things in the previous life. Right? I said calmly. He didn't answer, but suddenly rushed forward and hugged me tightly. I had a very long dream. His tears flowed down and he stammered. In the dream, I betrayed you. I thought I had a child with her. But the child wasn't mine. You let out a low sigh. You were pushed down the stairs by her. And I didn't save you in the first place. Later, I found out that the child wasn't mine. I quarreled with her. And she picked up a pair of scissors and stabbed me. So that's how it was. In the previous life, Sean had never gone for an examination. But actually, I had gone for an examination. The examination results showed that I didn't have any fertility problems. But before I had the chance to tell Sean, I discovered the fact that he had an affair with Gigi. I'm sorry, Yvonne. But that was just a dream. Right? He was crying bitterly. I won't treat you like that. I will never treat you like that. We still have a chance. Everything now still has a chance. This time, let's be good together. Okay? I gently pushed him away. Sean. You and I both know that it wasn't just a simple dream. The bloodshed was real. And the pain was also real. All of it was the pain I really experienced. If you were still the Sean who knew nothing and remembered nothing, maybe we could still get along as ordinary classmates and friends. But now that you have remembered, we can't even be ordinary classmates anymore. I don't want to bring the hatred of the previous life into this life. Being strangers is already my last bottom line. I hope you can be a better person in this life. I might be cold-blooded, but I didn't feel sorry for him. If he really had the ability to have children, and if that child was really his, and in the previous life, he should have been happily together with Gigi. Never expect to exchange your own misery or even your life for the regret at a man condescends to give. Because this belated pity and regret are simply worthless in the face of a life full of unknown wonders and beauty. 20 That night, Mother Shen cried and made a scene at home for a long time. And the whole unit could hear it. At 9 o'clock in the evening, a small stone was suddenly thrown at the window glass of my room. I opened the window and looked down. It was actually Shane. He was holding a small bouquet of flowers in his hand and standing under the street lamp, looking like a prince from a fairy tale world. I quickly changed my clothes and went downstairs. Why didn't you send a message? What era is it now? You still call people by throwing stones at the window? I smiled. I just wanted to try and see if you could hear it. He shrugged. We looked at each other and smiled. I'm going on a trip with my parents tomorrow. So the next time we meet, it should be at Peking University. I nodded. What are these flowers? He coughed lightly. These flowers are called Alstroemoria. I just passed by a flower shop and saw them. I thought the flower language was quite suitable for you. So I bought them on the way. He handed the flowers to me. I seem to have never told you. Congratulations on being admitted to Peking University. Same to you. I smiled and took the flowers. Then, go up early. See you at Peking University. Okay. See you at Peking University. Looking at Shane's leaving back, I belatedly remembered what he had just said. He said that the flower language of Alstroemoria was very suitable for me. But he didn't say what the flower language was. I opened my phone and typed in. The answer quickly popped up. The flower language of Alstroemoria. Friendship. Looking forward to reunion. And also, new life. 21 in September. I reported to the School of Journalism at Peking University. The old professor gave us our first class. If any of you want to make a lot of money in the future, it's still not too late to apply for the major transfer exam now. He smiled. As journalists, you should always keep in mind one thing. And that is your social responsibility. Studying journalism requires mastering a great many skills. Interviewing, writing, typesetting, video production. I was extremely busy. And Shane was also very occupied. He was still a prominent figure in the school. And he shone brightly even among the talented students at Peking University. There were even girls in my class who knew that I was his high school classmate and asked me to introduce them to him. I went to ask Shane excitedly. But he firmly refused. Why don't you want to meet her? That girl is really nice. I don't want to. Many girls are asking what kind of girlfriend you're looking for. He didn't even look up. I don't want to find one. Why? I was puzzled. Aren't you not looking for a boyfriend either? He said. That's because I'm too busy. It's the same for me. He closed the book. I'm also busy. Just like that. Until our senior year of college. Shane didn't have a girlfriend. Some girls began to suspect his sexual orientation and tried to find out from me if he liked men through indirect questions. I thought for a moment. I think he wouldn't. Right? Then he must like you. They said. Seriously. Except for you. We haven't seen Shane get close to any other girl. After graduating from senior year, I received an offer from a prestigious foreign university to study for a master's degree in journalism, while Shane stayed at the university to pursue a direct Ph.D. program. On the day I left Beijing, he went to the airport to see me off. At the moment of parting, a strong emotion suddenly welled up in my heart. Actually, having fulfilled my session. I knew it. Being too busy with studies and having no time to fall in love were just excuses for myself. I was just too deeply hurt in my previous life and had been too afraid to take that step again. But what if? If it was this person in front of me, could I give it a try? I pinched the palm of my hand and suddenly looked up. Shane went on a well sigh. I looked into his beautiful eyes and said word by word, "Do you like me?" He was stunned. And then he smiled. Yvonne, do you know why a TV drama can have 100 episodes? What? Because they never say what they really mean directly. If you're so straightforward like this, what else can be written in the story? Stop talking nonsense. I said impatiently. Do you like me or not? If not, it doesn't matter. Hey, heading fulfilled ride session. Hey, heading fulfilled ride session. Are you getting angry? He smiled and grabbed me. I just think it's a bit of a pity. Originally, hadn't fulfilled my incept. I had already bought a ticket for the next flight. When I got there, I was going to give you a surprise. Huh? What did you say? I've been waiting. Waiting for the day when you're willing to be in a relationship. Then, let out a long sigh. He took out a beautifully pressed lily of the Incas bookmark from his bosom. At the same time, I heard his magnetic and pleasant voice. He said, I love you. 22 Shane and I had a long-distance relationship across countries for 3 years. 3 years later, I returned to China and became a social news journalist. 2 years later, Shane graduated with a Ph.D. and stayed at the university to teach. In less than 2 years, he was promoted to an associate professor exceptionally. I have always adhered to the original aspiration of a journalist, done every piece of news with a truth-seeking attitude, been active in the career I love, and won several honors in the industry. As a guest on a history program, Shane is known as History Shane by netizens because of his ability to speak eloquently and wittily. And he has been named one of the new famous speakers at Peking University. When I first transferred to the liberal arts class, he once said that he was looking forward to meeting me at the top. Many years later, we both stood at the peak of our respective fields. And we kept looking ahead, exploring one peak after another. Another year passed, and we got married. It was the college entrance examination season again. Our high school alma mater invited us to give a speech at the school. Coincidentally, when I was waiting for Shane, who went to buy water, on the roadside, I actually met Sean. He was holding a child by the hand. When he saw me, he walked over. I always see you on TV and on the internet. He smiled. You must have had a good life these past few years. I nodded. We had a brief chat, and then he left with the child. Just then, Shane came back. He squinted his eyes and looked at the receding figure in the distance. Sean? What's he doing here? Did he come to find you? I couldn't help laughing. We just met by chance. Why? Are you jealous of something that happened so long ago? Shane? He snorted softly. By the way, I pulled his sleeve. I remember you bought me a bouquet of lilies of the Incas back then. Did you buy it from that flower shop over there? He looked at me and mumbled softly. I said you're slow-witted. And you really are. Do you think you can buy such a niche flower from this kind of small flower shop? Huh? I specially bought it online. I searched through several stores. And it was really hard to find. I blinked. Wow. Shane, had out a low sigh. Did you secretly like me back then? Unexpectedly. He actually blushed and grabbed my hand fiercely. Come on. Let's go quickly. We'll be late in a while. Help. After getting married. He actually blushes. He's so different from the aloof and arrogant Shane at school. When we returned to the school, I realized that over the years, I had always been a legend in our high school alma mater. After the speech, the school asked us to write messages of encouragement for this year's examinees. I thought for a moment and wrote the following words. Because of love, there is passion. Believe in yourself. And look forward to meeting at the top. The end.